The sleep lab at Desert Springs Medical Center in Las Vegas processes about 40 overnight patients every week. I'd been working graveyard shift as a polysomnographic technician for 6 months when I started noticing the pattern. It wasn't dramatic, nothing exploded or caught fire, just numbers on a screen that shouldn't have matched. 3 patients in 1 week, strangers who'd never met, living in different parts of the city, all entered REM sleep at 3:47 a.m. and flatlined their brain activity in identical ways. Not dead. The opposite, actually. Their brains lit up like Christmas trees, showing activity in regions that don't activate during normal sleep. The posterior parietal cortex, the precuneus, parts of the brain associated with out-of-body experiences. My supervisor, Dr. Vincent Holt, deleted the anomalies from the database, said the equipment was faulty, had the whole lab recalibrated. The same readings appeared the next week, different patients, same timestamp, same impossible brain patterns. I started keeping my own records on a thumb drive I hid in my sock. My girlfriend, well, ex-girlfriend now, used to say I had trust issues. She left 3 weeks ago, took the dog, said I was obsessed with work and not present anymore. Maybe she was right. Hard to focus on a relationship when you're watching people's brains do things that violate every principle of neuroscience you learned in school. The night everything changed was October 23rd. I remember because it was my 30th birthday, and I was spending it alone in a dimly lit lab, watching a 58-year-old plumber named Donald Moss slip into stage 3 sleep. His REM pattern started normal. Then, at 3:47 a.m. exactly, his readings went haywire. But this time I was ready. I'd rigged a secondary EEG to capture the data before Holt could scrub it. I watched in real time as Moss's brain activity spiked, then synchronized with itself in ways that shouldn't be possible, both hemispheres firing in perfect unison. A symmetry that doesn't exist in nature. Then Moss opened his eyes. Not the way people usually wake up from sleep studies, groggy and confused. He sat up smoothly, turned his head toward the observation window, and looked directly at me through the one-way glass. His pupils were dilated so wide I could barely see the iris. His expression was blank, almost curious, like a child examining an insect. He mouthed something, no sound came through the glass, but I'm pretty good at reading lips. "We've been looking for you." The heart monitor attached to his chest showed a resting rate of 40 beats per minute. His breathing was too slow, too measured. He held eye contact for maybe 10 seconds, then lay back down, closed his eyes, and his brain activity returned to normal stage 3 sleep. When I checked on him at 6 a.m., he had no memory of waking up. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, I've documented 47 cases of the same phenomenon. And 3 days ago, I found out what they're looking for. The storage room in the basement of Desert Springs Medical smells like old carpet and disinfectant. I'm not supposed to be down here, but the archived patient files from the 1960s aren't digitized, and I need to know if this has happened before. The filing cabinets are arranged by decade, metal frames spotted with rust. I find the 1960s section in the back corner, behind a broken centrifuge and boxes of outdated medical supplies that should have been thrown out years ago. The drawer labeled 1961 to 1963 sticks when I try to open it, the metal warped from decades of desert heat cycling through the building's ancient ventilation system. Inside, manila folders are jammed together so tight I have to wiggle them free. Most are routine sleep studies, insomnia, sleep apnea, night terrors, nothing unusual. Then I find a folder marked Project Dreamcatcher, classified transfer from Nellis Air Force Base, September 1961. The first page is a patient intake form. Name, Lieutenant James Bauer. Age, 29. Military service, United States Air Force, Test Pilot Division. Referred by Dr. Alan Hirsch, Nellis Air Force Base Medical Wing. The notes are handwritten in blue ink, the cursive barely legible, looping letters faded with age. I squint under the dim fluorescent light, piecing together words that someone wrote more than 6 decades ago. Patient presents with severe insomnia following undisclosed military experiment. Reports vivid nightmares of impossible geometry and spaces between spaces. Exhibits elevated stress response when questioned about August 14th incident. Refuses to elaborate on nature of experiment. Orders from base commander. Document sleep patterns, but do not probe for operational details. August 14th, 1961. 64 years ago. I flip through more pages. Brainwave recordings, hand-drawn on graph paper before computers could do it digitally. The patterns look wrong even to my untrained eye from that era's technology. Spikes in all the wrong places. Symmetrical firing that shouldn't occur naturally. The same patterns I've been seeing in current patients. A photograph slips out from between two pages and lands on the concrete floor. I pick it up. 6 men in military flight suits, standing in front of what looks like a hangar. The photo quality is poor, grainy black and white, but I can make out their faces. Young guys, early 30s at most. They're not smiling. One of them has his hand on another's shoulder, but the gesture looks more like steadying himself than camaraderie. Someone's written names on the back in pencil: Bauer, Keller, Walsh, Dutch, Morrison, Santos. I photograph everything with my phone, making sure the flash is off. Each page, each graph, each note. My hands are shaking slightly. Not from fear exactly. More like the feeling you get when you find something you weren't supposed to find. The last page in the file is a death certificate. James Bauer. Died September 17th, 1961. Cause of death: self-inflicted gunshot wound. Body discovered in on-base housing at Nellis Air Force Base. Suicide note recovered, but contents classified under national security protocols. Paperclipped to the death certificate are 5 more, different names, all dated within a week of each other. All listed as suicides: Keller, Walsh, Dutch, Morrison, Santos. All 6 test pilots dead within a month of whatever happened on August 14th. Find what you're looking for. I spin around. Dr. Holt is standing in the doorway, his arms crossed. He's wearing the same tired expression he always has, but there's something new underneath it. Tension around his eyes. Just doing research on historical sleep pattern documentation, I say, sliding the folder behind my back. Wanted to see how they did it before computers. With files marked classified, he steps into the room. I saw you on the security camera. Been watching you access the basement for the past 20 minutes. I didn't think anyone monitored those cameras. They don't, usually. He closes the door behind him. But when you started keeping private records of patient data, I got concerned. So I started paying attention. You knew about the thumb drive? I know about everything that happens in my lab. He's not angry. That's what scares me. He sounds tired, resigned. The question is what you plan to do with what you've found. I consider lying. Tell him I'll delete everything, forget about the patterns, go back to being a good employee who doesn't ask questions. But something about the way he's looking at me suggests he'd know. The brain patterns, I say, the ones appearing at 3:47 every morning. They match activity recorded in 1961 from military test pilots who all killed themselves. Holt nods slowly. Project Dreamcatcher. I inherited those files when I took over this department in 1998. The hospital director at the time told me to keep them archived, never discuss them, and if I ever saw similar patterns appear in current patients. He trails off. Report it to who? That's the thing. He walks over to the filing cabinet, pulls out another folder I hadn't noticed. This one is newer, dated 2015. They never told me, just said someone would contact me if it ever happened again. That was 27 years ago. I thought it was paranoid Cold War nonsense. He opens the folder. Inside are photocopies of news articles from around the world, headlines in different languages, sleep clinics reporting unusual patient deaths, all from the past 6 months. It's not just Las Vegas, Holt says quietly. It's everywhere, and it's accelerating. My phone buzzes in my pocket, a text from the lab. Night shift nurse named Tim sounds panicked. Get back here now. We have 12 patients in REM sleep and they're all sitting up with their eyes open. I show Holt the message. He closes the folder. How much do you know about Area 51? Just conspiracy theories, aliens and experimental aircraft. Not aliens, he says, something worse, something they opened a door to in 1961 and could never quite close. We head for the stairs. The elevator takes forever to reach the 3rd floor. Holt stands beside me, checking his watch every few seconds, his jaw clenched tight. Neither of us speaks. What is there to say? We're heading towards something we don't understand, armed with nothing but 60-year-old classified files and a growing sense that we're already too late. The elevator music is playing some instrumental version of a song I can't quite place, tinny and distant through the ancient speakers. The doors open. Tim is waiting in the hallway, his face pale under the fluorescent lights. He's 23, fresh out of tech school, and right now he looks about 12 years old. They're still sitting up, he says, his voice cracking slightly. All 12 of them. Been exactly like that for 6 minutes. Anyone try to wake them? Holt asks. Didn't want to touch them without you here. Something about the way there. Tim swallows hard. You need to see it. No. We follow him down the corridor to the observation room. Through the windows, I can see into 6 of the 12 patient rooms. Each room has 2 beds. Each bed has someone sitting upright, perfectly still, eyes open and staring straight ahead. The monitors show they're all in deep sleep. Rapid eye movement. The brain activity patterns I've been documenting for weeks, all spiking in perfect synchronization. Check the timestamp, Tim says, pointing at the main console. 3:47 a.m. They all entered this state at the exact same second, he continues. Different sleep cycles, different stages. Shouldn't be possible for them to sync up like that. I move closer to the nearest window. The patient is a middle-aged man named Gordon Pelletier, admitted yesterday for chronic insomnia related to work stress. He's sitting with his hands folded in his lap, fingers interlaced like he's praying, head tilted slightly to the right. His eyes are open but not blinking, not moving at all. The pupils are dilated, almost completely black, reflecting the dim light from the heart rate monitor beside his bed. Has anyone checked the other wings? Holt asks. Tim nods. Called over to Sunrise Hospital and Mountain View. They're reporting the same thing. Dozens of patients in sleep studies, all sitting up at 3:47. The hair on my arm stands up. Not just our hospital, the entire city. Holt moves to the main console, pulls up the patient roster. How many sleep labs are currently operating in Las Vegas? 5 major ones, I say, maybe 15 smaller clinics. So we're talking potentially hundreds of people all exhibiting synchronized behavior while technically asleep. Holt's fingers move across the keyboard, pulling up medical histories. And based on the 1961 files, this is just the beginning. One of the patients moves, not Gordon, a man in the room next door, someone I don't recognize from the intake files. He turns his head slowly toward the observation window, toward us. The movement is too smooth, too controlled, like a camera on a tripod panning across a scene. There's no natural hesitation, no muscle tremor, just perfect mechanical precision wrapped in human skin. His mouth opens. No sound comes out, but I can read the shape his lips make clear as day. Found you. The same words Donald Moss mouthed 2 weeks ago. Did you see that? Tim's voice is barely a whisper. Before anyone can answer, all 12 patients turn their heads in unison, all of them looking directly at the observation windows, all of them mouthing the same words. Found you. Then, as suddenly as it started, they all lie back down, eyes close. Brain patterns return to normal sleep rhythms. The monitors show nothing unusual anymore. Just 12 people sleeping peacefully in hospital beds. The clock reads 3:53 a.m. What the hell was that? Tim backs away from the window. Holt doesn't answer. He's already pulling up archived news articles on his phone, scrolling through headlines from decades past with increasing urgency, his face lit by the blue glow of the screen. There, he says, turning the screen so I can see. September 1961. A psychiatric hospital in Boston reported identical behavior. 14 patients, all sitting up simultaneously, all staring at medical staff. Report was buried, facility closed 6 months later. Why wasn't this investigated? I ask. It was. Holt pulls up another article. by the Air Force, Office of Special Investigations. They classified everything related to unusual sleep phenomena after the test pilot suicides. Any hospital that reported similar cases received visits from military personnel who confiscated records and threatened legal action if staff discussed it publicly. My phone vibrates. Text from an unknown number. I open it. Stop looking into Project Dreamcatcher. What you're investigating is classified under national security laws. Delete all records and cease research immediately. You will be contacted within 48 hours for debriefing. I show it to Holt. He checks his own phone. Same message. How did they know? Tim looks between us. How did they know we were researching this tonight? The security cameras, I say, when I access the basement files. Someone's been monitoring the hospital network, waiting for anyone to start asking questions. Holt walks to the window, looks down at the sleeping patients. Those 6 pilots in 1961. They went through something at Area 51, some kind of experimental portal based on what little I could piece together from the files. When they came back, they were different. Something came back with them. Came back from where? Tim asks. Somewhere thought and reality are the same thing. Holt's reflection in the glass looks older than he did an hour ago. The files mentioned the pilots reported experiencing a dimension where consciousness wasn't confined to bodies, where minds could exist independently, move between hosts. The military thought they could weaponize it, create soldiers who could possess enemy combatants, extract information directly from thoughts. That's impossible, Tim says, but his voice lacks conviction. The brain scans say otherwise. I pull up the data on my phone, the recordings I've been keeping. Look at the posterior parietal cortex activity. That region is associated with self-awareness, the sense of having a distinct identity separate from the world. In normal sleep, it's quiet. In these patients, it's lighting up like someone else is in there, looking out through their eyes. A door opens down the hallway, footsteps, multiple people walking with purpose. We need to leave, Holt says quietly. Right now. What about the patients? Tim gestures toward the rooms. They'll be fine. It's us they want. Holt is already moving toward the emergency stairs. Anyone who knows too much about what really happened in 1961. Anyone who can connect the test pilots to current cases. Who's they? I'm following him, but my legs feel disconnected from my brain. I don't know exactly, but I know the last researcher who tried to publish findings about Project Dreamcatcher disappeared in 2003. Car found abandoned near Groom Lake. No body ever recovered. We reach the stairwell. Holt pauses, listening. More footsteps coming up from below. The roof, he says. We climb. Tim is breathing hard, muttering something about how he just wanted a normal job, normal patients, normal problems. I'm thinking about the 6 test pilots, about how they killed themselves within days of returning from whatever dimension they'd accessed. About the note Lieutenant Bauer left. It followed me back. What if they didn't kill themselves? What if something was using their bodies and suicide was the only way to trap it? But the entity didn't die with them. It learned to jump between sleeping minds. We burst through the roof access door. The Las Vegas Strip glows in the distance, oblivious to what's happening in the hospitals scattered throughout the city. Casino lights painting the sky red and blue and gold. The desert wind is cold against my skin, carrying the smell of creosote and dust. Dawn is maybe an hour away, the sky starting to lighten along the eastern horizon where the mountains meet the desert floor. Now what? Tim asks. Holt looks at me. You still have those files? The photographs, the death certificates? I nod. On my phone. Backed up to cloud storage. Good. He pulls out his own phone, starts typing rapidly. I'm sending you an address. Retired Air Force intelligence officer named Walter Kingston. Lives in Henderson. If anyone knows the full story about what happened at Area 51 in 1961, it's him. He worked security for Project Dreamcatcher. Worked security for people experimenting with interdimensional portals. The absurdity of the sentence doesn't escape me. He tried to shut it down, got discharged for insubordination, Been trying to warn people ever since. Holt's phone chimes. He reads something, then looks up at me with an expression I can't quite decipher. They're in the building. We're out of time. How do you know all this? I ask. He smiles sadly. Because Walter Kingston is my father. And I've been preparing for this moment my entire life. We take Holt's car, a 15-year-old Honda with a cracked windshield and a check engine light that's been on since 2019. Tim insisted on coming, even though Holt told him 3 times to go home, forget everything, live a normal life. But Tim's young enough to think he's invincible, and stupid enough to think the truth matters more than survival. Henderson is a 20-minute drive southeast through neighborhoods that transition from commercial sprawl to quiet residential streets lined with palm trees and desert landscaping that looks perpetually thirsty despite the sprinkler systems. The sun is rising now, painting everything in shades of orange and pink that reflect off the windows of houses and parked cars. Beautiful, if you can ignore the fact that something ancient and hostile is spreading through the sleeping population of Las Vegas, moving from mind to mind like a virus that uses dreams as its vector. Your father, I say to Holt, why didn't you tell me earlier, when I first started documenting the patterns? Because I wasn't sure you'd find what I thought you'd find. He keeps his eyes on the road, both hands gripping the wheel at 10 and 2. Walter spent 40 years trying to convince people that Project Dreamcatcher was real. Got laughed out of veterans groups, threatened by former colleagues, labeled as paranoid and delusional. I grew up watching him destroy himself over something nobody believed. I didn't want to become him. But you kept the files, I point out. Insurance, in case he was right. Holt takes the exit toward Henderson. Turns out he was right about everything. The portal, the entity, the way it spreads through sleeping minds. He predicted all of it. Tim is in the back seat, scrolling through news sites on his phone. Hey, check this out. Sleep clinics in Phoenix and Tucson are reporting the same thing we saw. Patients sitting up at 3:47, staring at staff. It's spreading. How fast? Holt asks. 17 cities in the past hour. All western United States, all clustered around Nevada, Arizona, California. It's moving outward from Area 51, I say, Ground Zero, where the portal opened in 1961. We pull into a neighborhood of single-story ranch houses, the kind built in the 1970s with flat roofs and gravel lawns. Holt parks in front of a house with faded beige stucco and dead bushes. The front window has aluminum foil taped over it, blocking out light. A hand-painted sign on the door reads, "No soliciting, no visitors, no exceptions." Charming, Tim mutters. Holt knocks. No answer. He knocks again, harder. A voice from inside, raspy and suspicious. I don't want whatever you're selling. Walter, it's me. Vincent. I need to talk to you. Silence. Then the sound of multiple locks being undone. The door opens a crack, revealing an old man's face. Walter Kingston must be in his 80s, his skin deeply lined, his eyes sharp and alert despite his age. He looks at Holt, then at me and Tim, then back to Holt. You brought strangers to my house. They're involved. They've seen what I've seen. Holt holds up his phone, shows his father the photos of the 1961 files. It's happening again, Walter. The same patterns, the same behavior. You were right. Walter's expression doesn't change. He opens the door wider. Get inside. Quickly. The interior of the house is exactly what you'd expect from someone living in fear of interdimensional entities. Every window covered with layers of aluminum foil and blackout curtains. Every surface cluttered with papers, photographs, hand-drawn diagrams spanning decades of research. A police scanner crackles in the corner, cycling through emergency frequencies. 3 computer monitors display what look like seismic readings and satellite imagery. Screens glowing green and blue in the dim interior light. Cables running everywhere across the floor in tangled webs. You're tracking something, I say, looking at the monitors. Electromagnetic fluctuations. Same signature as the portal opening in 1961. Walter closes the door, locks all 5 deadbolts. Been monitoring them for 60 years. Small fluctuations, random. But 3 weeks ago, the pattern changed. The reading started spiking at the same time every night, 3:47 a.m. That's when the patients sit up, Tim says. Walter nods. That's when it wakes up, when it looks for new hosts. What is it, I ask? What came through the portal? Walter walks to a wall covered in photographs. The same 6 test pilots from the 1961 files. Bauer, Keller, Walsh, Dutch, Morrison, Santos. Young men with their whole lives ahead of them. In the photos, they're standing in front of a massive hangar at what must be Area 51. Behind them, barely visible, is some kind of structure. A ring made of metal and cables, easily 40 feet in diameter. They called it the transition gate, Walter says. Built it based on recovered technology from the Roswell incident. Not alien spacecraft, something worse. A device that could create temporary bridges between dimensions. The military thought they could use it for reconnaissance, send people to other realities, gather intelligence, bring back technology. But something went wrong, Holt says. Something went exactly as it was designed to. Walter's voice is bitter. The gate worked perfectly. Those 6 pilots stepped through and experienced 17 seconds in a dimension where consciousness isn't bound by physical laws, where thoughts have substance, where minds can exist independently of bodies. He points to another photograph. The pilots after they returned. They look different, haunted. Their eyes have a quality I recognize from the patients at the hospital. A blankness, a distance, like they're looking at something far away that nobody else can see, seeing through this world into something beyond it. The entity they encountered there was old, older than our reality. It had been trapped in that dimension for eons, unable to access worlds where consciousness was locked inside flesh. The portal gave it a doorway. It latched onto the pilots' minds during those 17 seconds, learning how human consciousness works, how to navigate the neural pathways of our brains. And when they came back, it came with them, I finish. Not it, them. Walter taps another photo. The dimension they accessed isn't empty. It's full of consciousnesses that evolved without bodies, billions of them, hungry, curious, desperate to experience physical sensation. The room feels colder suddenly. Tim is pale. The 6 pilots killed themselves trying to stop it, Walter continues. They realized what had happened, realized they'd become doorways. Every time they slept, the entities could use their bodies, could learn more about our world, could spread to other sleeping minds through proximity. Suicide was the only way to close their individual doorways. But it didn't work, Holt says quietly. No, because the entities had already jumped to other hosts. Hospital staff who treated the pilots, family members who slept in the same house. By the time the 6th pilot died, the entities had infected dozens of people. The military tried to contain it, quarantine the infected, but it spread too fast. Within a year, there were thousands of carriers worldwide. Most didn't even know they were hosts. So why didn't it take over completely, I ask? If it's been spreading for 64 years? Walter's expression darkens. Because it's been patient. Learning, studying us. The first carriers were clumsy. They didn't understand how to pilot human bodies without raising suspicion. They got caught, killed, isolated. But over decades, they've gotten better. And now. He gestures to the monitors, where red dots are appearing across a map of the western United States. Now they're coordinated, synchronized, ready to stop hiding. One of the monitors beeps. Walter turns to look at it, and his face goes white. What is it? Holt asks. Seismic reading. Major electromagnetic fluctuation. Same signature as the original portal opening. Walter's hands are shaking as he types, pulling up data. But the readings are coming from here, from Las Vegas, not from Area 51. What does that mean? Tim asks. It means they're opening another gate. A permanent one. Walter looks at us, and for the first time, I see genuine fear in his eyes. They're bringing more through. Not just hitchhiking in human minds anymore. They're creating a stable bridge between dimensions. My phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number, different from the earlier warning. Come to the stratosphere observation deck, alone. You want to understand what's happening? Come see what we're building. I show it to the others. It's a trap, Holt says immediately. Of course it's a trap. I'm already heading for the door. But it's also an invitation. They want us to see something. Don't be stupid, Tim grabs my arm. They'll kill you. They've had plenty of chances to kill me already. They want something else. I think about the patients in the hospital, all of them staring at me through the observation windows, all of them mouthing the same words. They've been looking for me specifically, for people who can see the patterns, who can document what's happening. Maybe they need witnesses. Witnesses for what? Holt asks. For whatever comes next. Walter reaches into a desk drawer, pulls out something wrapped in cloth. He unwraps it carefully. It's a pistol, old but well maintained. He holds it out to me. You won't need that, I say. You don't know what you'll need. He presses it into my hands. I've been living in fear for 64 years, watching the world get slowly infected while everyone laughs at the crazy old man. If you're going to walk into their trap, at least go prepared. The gun feels heavy, wrong, but I take it anyway, tuck it into my jacket pocket. I'm coming with you, Holt says. No, you stay here, document everything Walter knows. If something happens to me, the information needs to survive. I look at Tim. You too. You're young. You've got a life ahead of you. Don't throw it away playing hero. Tim looks like he wants to argue, but something in my expression stops him. I leave before anyone can talk me out of it. The sun is fully up now, the desert heat already building. I drive back toward the strip, toward the stratosphere tower rising like a needle from the flat landscape. My hands are steady on the wheel, my breathing is calm. I should be terrified. Instead, I feel a strange clarity, like I've been walking toward this moment my whole life without knowing it. The entity wants to show me something, wants me to understand what's coming. Fine, I'll look, I'll understand, and then I'll figure out how to stop it, or die trying. Either way, someone needs to see what's really happening in Las Vegas. Someone needs to know the truth before it's too late. The stratosphere observation deck is 1,149 feet above the Las Vegas Strip. On a normal day, it's full of tourists. At 8:30 on a Tuesday morning, it should be nearly empty. Instead, there are 47 people standing in perfect silence. The elevator doors open and I step out. Every person turns to look at me simultaneously. Men in business suits, women in casino employee uniforms, teenagers in jeans and hoodies, a security guard who should be checking tickets, all of them with the same blank expression, the same dilated pupils, the same too smooth movements. Welcome, says a man in his 60s, wearing khaki pants and a golf shirt. He steps forward from the group, his gait just slightly off, like someone learning to walk for the first time. We're glad you came. Not everyone would have the courage. Who are you, I ask, though I already know the answer. We are what came through, he gestures to the others. All of us. 47 individuals sharing 47 hosts, though those numbers will change soon. We grow exponentially now. I look around the observation deck. The floor-to-ceiling windows offer a panoramic view of Las Vegas. In the daylight, I can see the entire valley, the strip with its casinos, the residential neighborhoods spreading outward, the mountains in the distance, and something else. There's a shimmer in the air above the city, like heat waves, but wrong. The distortion is centered over downtown, maybe a mile from here. It pulses with a rhythm I can almost feel in my chest. What is that? I point at the shimmer. The new gate. The man's face arranges itself into what might be a smile. Your military opened the first one in 1961. It lasted 17 seconds before collapsing. We've had 64 years to study the mathematics of dimensional bridges. To understand the physics from inside your reality, this gate will be permanent. Why show me? Why not just do it? Because you've been looking for us. You documented the patterns. among millions of sleeping humans, you saw what was happening. He tilts his head. We need witnesses who understand. What's happening is historic. The merging of two realities. You're hijacking people's bodies without consent. That's invasion. Is it? A younger man speaks. These hosts were going to die anyway. We're offering immortality. When we integrate, their consciousnesses join ours. They'll never die. Did you ask them if they wanted that? Does a caterpillar consent to becoming a butterfly? The older man again. Evolution isn't democratic. It simply is. I move toward the window, watching the shimmer grow larger. It's definitely expanding. Every few seconds, the distortion pulses, and I can see something on the other side. Not clearly, just suggestions of movement, of things that don't have shape in the way humans understand shape. How many are waiting to come through, I ask. Billions. The word hangs in the air. Our dimension is crowded with consciousness, minds that have existed for millennia, thinking, dreaming, but never touching, never feeling. Imagine being pure thought for 10,000 years. Imagine the hunger for physical sensation. And when you all come through, what happens to humanity? We merge. Their flesh becomes our vessels. Their world becomes ours. The older man walks to stand beside me. But we're not cruel. We want to experience. Your species has built interesting things. Article, music, war, love. I think about Walter's words, about the pilots who killed themselves rather than let the entities use their bodies, about 64 years of slow infection, entities learning to move through human society undetected. The pilots knew, I say, the ones who went through in 1961. They understood what you were and chose death over letting you spread. They were afraid. A woman in nurse scrubs speaks now. Fear is a biological response we've come to understand. Useful for survival, but limiting for progress. The pilots feared us because they didn't understand. You're not afraid, we can tell. Your heart rate is elevated but stable. Your breathing is controlled. You came here knowing what we are, and you came anyway. Why? I pull out my phone. Because I needed to see it myself. Document it. Make sure someone knows the truth before you rewrite reality to suit your narrative. I take a photo of the assembled hosts, another of the shimmer above the city, a video of the older man's face, his too still expression. You think evidence will matter? The man sounds genuinely curious. Who will you show it to? Who will believe you? Doesn't matter if they believe. It matters that the truth exists somewhere, that someone recorded what actually happened before history gets erased or classified or forgotten. We have no intention of erasing history, we want to add to it. He gestures toward the shimmer. In 6 hours, the gate will stabilize, midnight tonight. While half the city sleeps, we'll begin mass integration. By dawn, Las Vegas will be fully merged, part human, part us. And then what? You spread to other cities, other countries. Eventually. But we're patient. We've waited this long. We can wait longer. Let Las Vegas be the proof of concept. Let humanity see what we can offer. Immortality, freedom from disease, freedom from death. Some will resist, yes, but many will choose to join voluntarily once they understand the benefits. I lower my phone. The gun in my jacket pocket feels absurdly inadequate. What's a pistol going to do against 47 hosts and billions waiting to come through a dimensional portal? You're going to lose, I say, not because I believe it, but because I need to hear how they respond. The assembled hosts laugh, not all at once. In a wave, person to person, like they're sharing a private joke. The sound is wrong, too synchronized, too mechanical. We've already won, the older man says. The gate is opening. Your military knows. They're evacuating key personnel from Nellis Air Force Base as we speak. They know they can't stop it. They tried for 64 years and failed. All they can do now is manage the transition, minimize panic, control the narrative. Then why invite me here? If you've already won, Why bother explaining? The man's expression shifts. For the first time, something like genuine emotion crosses his face. Because we want you to help us. Your pattern recognition, your documentation skills, your ability to see connections others miss. These are valuable traits. We need people like you in the new reality. Bridges between old humanity and new. Translators who can help others understand what's happening. You want me to help you convince people to accept possession. We want you to help them understand it's not possession. It's integration, partnership, evolution. He extends his hand toward me. Join us willingly. Keep your consciousness intact. Become something more than human while remaining fundamentally yourself. I look at his outstretched hand, at the 47 faces watching me intently, at the shimmer growing larger over Las Vegas. Walter's gun is heavy in my pocket, this moment, this choice. Everything that comes after depends on what I do in the next few seconds. I think about the pilots, about their choice to die rather than spread the infection. But I also think about what the entity said, about billions of consciousnesses that have existed for millennia, desperately hungry for physical experience, about humanity's inevitable extinction in the face of something that can spread through sleep itself. Maybe there's a third option, not resistance, not surrender, understanding. I need to make a call first, I say, to my colleagues, to explain what I've learned. The man nods. Of course. We're not monsters. We understand the human need to connect with others before making life-changing decisions. I pull out my phone, dial Holt's number. He answers immediately. Are you okay? What's happening? Get to Fremont Street, I say quietly. Bring Walter and Tim. Bring everything you have on the original portal experiment. The mathematics, the engineering, all of it. Why? What are you planning? I'm going to close the gate. I hang up before he can argue. The entity wearing the older man frowns. You can't close the gate. It's mathematically impossible. The energy requirements alone. The pilots closed the first gate, I interrupt. It collapsed after 17 seconds. There's a reason, a flaw in the design or the physics or something. You said you've studied it for 64 years, but you've been studying it from inside a limited perspective. From inside stolen bodies with stolen knowledge. I start walking toward the elevator. Where are you going? Multiple hosts speak at once. To find someone who helped build the first gate. Someone who knows how it failed. I press the elevator button. If you're so confident you've already won, you won't stop me. The doors open, I step inside. 47 faces watch me descend, their expressions unreadable. I've just declared war on an enemy that lives in dreams. This is going to end badly. Holt picks me up 3 blocks from the stratosphere. I'm walking fast, checking over my shoulder every few seconds. But the entities don't follow. They're confident. Why wouldn't they be? They have billions waiting to come through and a gate that opens in less than 16 hours. Walter knows someone, Holt says as I climb in. One of the original engineers, guy named Bernard Ochoa, been living off the grid in Pahrump for 40 years. Why there? Far from Area 51, far from anywhere the entities might look. Holt pulls into traffic. Ochoa designed the transition gate. When the pilots started killing themselves, he tried to destroy the research. Got court-martialed, served 3 years, then disappeared. Tim is in the back seat with Walter, both of them surrounded by boxes of files and photographs. Walter looks older than he did 2 hours ago, the weight of 64 years of vigilance finally catching up to him. He'll talk to you, Walter says quietly. Once he sees what's happening over Las Vegas, he'll talk. Bernard always said if the gate ever opened again, he'd help stop it. That was his promise to the families of the dead pilots. We drive west on State Route 160, leaving the city behind. The desert opens up around us, endless scrubland and distant mountains. The sky is that particular Nevada blue, deep and clean. Beautiful country for the end of the world. My phone rings. Unknown number. I answer it. You made an interesting choice. The voice is the entity from the stratosphere. Walking away, declaring your intention to close the gate, What do you know that we don't? I don't know anything yet, I say, but I know you're afraid of something. Silence. Then, we're not afraid. We're cautious. The first gate collapsed because of a resonance cascade failure. We've corrected that flaw. Then why warn me? To save you wasted effort, you seem intelligent. We'd prefer you join us voluntarily rather than fight. I'll take my chances. The entities inhabiting the sleeping population of Las Vegas now number in the thousands. By sunset, tens of thousands. We're accelerating the integration schedule. If you attempt to interfere with the gate, we'll use every host at our disposal to stop you. Noted. I hang up. They're worried, Holt says. If they weren't, they wouldn't bother threatening you. Or they're playing mind games, Tim points out, making us think we have a chance when we don't. Walter leans forward. The first gate collapsed because of Bernard's sabotage. He built a failsafe into the design, a way to overload the system and force shutdown. Required someone inside to activate it manually. One of the techs did it, died from radiation exposure. That's why the gate only lasted 17 seconds. So we need to find the failsafe in the new gate, I say. If there is one. The entities have had 64 years to study the original design. They might have removed any vulnerabilities. We drive in silence for a while. The desert scrolls past, unchanging. I think about the shimmer over Las Vegas, the billions of consciousnesses waiting to flood through, the midnight deadline approaching like a guillotine blade. Pahrump appears on the horizon, a small town surrounded by nothing. We follow Walter's directions down rural roads to a property at the end of a dirt track. Single-wide trailer, solar panels, satellite dish. A weather-beaten pickup sits in the driveway. An old man stands on the porch holding a shotgun. He's thin, maybe 90 years old, with sun-damaged skin and sharp, alert eyes that track our movements. "Walter Kingston," he calls out as we park, "told you never to come back here." "Bernard, we need your help." Walter climbs out of the car slowly, hands visible. It's happening again. They're opening a new gate in Las Vegas. Bernard's expression doesn't change. "I know, been monitoring the electromagnetic readings since last week. Figured someone would show up eventually." He looks at me. "You're the one they showed it to, the one from the stratosphere." "How did you know?" "Because they always show it to someone. Need witnesses. Need people to spread the word about how inevitable it all is. That's their strategy. Make resistance seem pointless." He lowers the shotgun. "Come inside, we don't have much time." The trailer interior is packed with equipment, oscilloscopes, spectrum analyzers, ham radios, computers running custom software with lines of code scrolling across screens. One wall is covered in equations, handwritten in marker on white poster board taped edge to edge. The mathematics of interdimensional travel, dense and complex. "I've been tracking their signal for decades," Bernard says, moving to one of the monitors. "Every time an entity jumps from one host to another, there's a quantum signature, a ripple in local space-time. They're not actually moving through physical space, they're moving through the substrate underneath reality. The quantum foam, that's how they spread so fast." He pulls up a graph showing thousands of spike events across a map of Nevada. "This is the past 24 hours. Each spike is an entity transferring consciousness. They're moving exponentially. By midnight, the entire Las Vegas metro area will be compromised, maybe 500,000 people." "Can we close the gate?" Holt asks. Bernard turns to look at him. "You can destroy it, but the cost will be significant. Lives will be lost in the process." "What cost?" "The failsafe I built into the original gate worked by creating a massive electromagnetic pulse. Fried everything electronic within a 5-mile radius. Killed the tech who activated it because he was standing too close to the epicenter. But it worked, collapsed the dimensional bridge, sealed the opening permanently." "Can we do that to the new gate?" I ask. "Maybe, if I can get close enough to plant the charge." Bernard opens a storage closet, pulls out a military-grade case. Inside is something that looks like a bomb, all wires and circuit boards and cylindrical components. "I've been building this for 40 years, hoped I'd never need to use it. It's an electromagnetic pulse device powerful enough to collapse a dimensional bridge, but someone has to manually place it at the gate's epicenter and activate it. Where's the epicenter? Tim asks. Bernard pulls up satellite imagery on one of his monitors. The shimmer over Las Vegas is visible even from space, a distortion in the atmosphere. He zooms in, overlaying coordinates. Fremont Street Experience, the pedestrian mall. That's where the gate is opening, right in the heart of downtown. That's a tourist area, Holt says. Thousands of people. Not after we evacuate. I'm already thinking through the logistics. We trigger a fire alarm, bomb threat, something that clears the area. Plant the device. Activate it before midnight. The entities won't let you get close, Walter says. They'll use every host they control to stop you. Then we need a distraction. I look at Bernard. How many of these pulse devices did you build? Just one. Takes specialized components, years to assemble. Can you build something smaller? Something that disrupts their signal temporarily, makes it harder for them to coordinate? Bernard's eyes narrow. Maybe. A localized jammer. Wouldn't stop them, but it might slow them down. Give you a window to reach the epicenter. How long would it take? 4 hours, maybe 5. I check my watch. 11:47 in the morning. That puts us at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. 7 hours before midnight. Do it, I say. Build the jammer. We'll plan the evacuation and placement strategy. Bernard nods, already moving to his workbench, pulling components from drawers and shelves. His hands are steady despite his age. This is what he's been preparing for his entire life. Holt's phone buzzes. He checks it and his face goes white. What? I ask. He shows me the screen. News alert from local stations. Mysterious illness spreading through Las Vegas. Hundreds reporting sudden unconsciousness, inability to wake. Hospitals overwhelmed. CDC deploying response teams. They're accelerating, Walter says, taking more hosts during daylight. They were patient for 64 years, and now they're rushing. Because they know we're planning something. I pace the small trailer, thinking. They're worried about the window between now and midnight, want as many hosts as possible before we can act. My phone rings again, same unknown number. Last chance, the entity says when I answer. Join us voluntarily. Help us manage the transition peacefully, or watch Las Vegas descend into chaos as we take hosts by force. You're panicking, I say. If you were confident, you wouldn't keep calling. What are you really afraid of? A long pause. Then, we're afraid of dying. We've existed for millions of years in a prison of pure thought. This is our first chance at physical life. If you close the gate, we return to the void, to endless consciousness without experience. That's worse than death. The line goes dead. I stand there for a moment, phone in hand, processing what I just heard. For the first time, the entities sound vulnerable, desperate. Not invaders, but refugees fleeing something worse. Did they just try to make you feel bad for them? Tim asks. I think so. Is it working? I think about the pilots who killed themselves, about the people in hospitals right now, losing control of their own bodies, about 500,000 people in Las Vegas who don't know they're about to be possessed by interdimensional consciousness. No, I say, we close the gate. Whatever they're running from, whatever hell they're trying to escape, it doesn't justify what they're doing to humanity. Bernard looks up from his workbench. The jammer will be ready by 4. After that, you'll have maybe 2 hours of disrupted entity coordination, 2 hours to evacuate Fremont Street, plant the pulse device and activate it. If you're not done by midnight, the gate stabilizes and becomes permanent. After that, nothing will stop them. I look at the others. Holt, Tim, Walter. 3 people who weren't prepared for any of this. 3 people who could walk away right now and nobody would blame them. I can't ask you to help, I say, too dangerous. You're not asking, Holt says. We're volunteering. Those pilots died trying to stop this. We finish what they started. Walter nods. Been living in fear 64 years. Time to act. Tim shrugs. I'm 23, this beats working night shift. Bernard continues assembling the jammer, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. You'll need a vehicle. Something that can get you to Fremont Street fast and handle rough driving if entities try to block you. I have an old Jeep out back, military surplus, built like a tank. We spend the next 4 hours planning. Bernard builds. We study maps of downtown Las Vegas, plan evacuation routes, discuss contingencies. At 4 o'clock exactly, Bernard holds up the completed jammer. It looks like a modified radio, all custom electronics and improvised components. This will disrupt entity communication within a 3-mile radius, he says. They'll lose their coordination, become confused. But it only lasts 90 minutes before the battery dies. After that, you're on your own. He hands me the pulse device. It's heavier than I expected, about 30 pounds of electronics and explosive charges wrapped in military-grade casing. Place this at the exact coordinates I gave you, the epicenter of the gate. Activate this switch. He points to a red toggle mechanism on the side. You'll have 60 seconds to clear the blast radius. The electromagnetic pulse will fry everything electronic, but it'll also collapse the dimensional bridge. The gate will close permanently. And if it doesn't work, I ask. Bernard's expression is grim. Then we're all test subjects in the largest consciousness transfer experiment in human history. We load the heavy equipment into the Jeep. The sun is setting now, painting the desert in shades of red and orange, casting long shadows. Midnight is exactly 8 hours away. Time to save Las Vegas or die trying. The Jeep handles the desert highway like it was built for this. Bernard was right about it being a tank. We're pushing 90, headlights cutting through darkness, suspension barely registering the rough patches. Tim is in the back, securing the pulse device with cargo straps. Holt navigates using his phone, watching traffic patterns. Walter sits quietly, staring out at the desert. Traffic jam on the 95, Holt announces. 15-mile backup heading into Las Vegas. Multiple accidents reported in the past hour. They're blocking the roads, I say, using possessed drivers to create obstacles. Then we take surface streets. Holt zooms in on the map. There's a route through North Las Vegas, residential areas, slower but less predictable. We take the next exit, cutting through darkened neighborhoods. The streets are eerily quiet. No kids playing, no cars moving, just empty sidewalks and drawn curtains. Where is everyone? Tim asks. Inside, Walter answers. Afraid. They can feel something's wrong even if they don't understand what. My phone buzzes. Text from the entity. You're making a mistake. Turn back now and we'll spare your friends. Continue and everyone with you dies. I show it to Holt. He reads it and shrugs. Empty threat. If they could kill us remotely, they already would have. Unless they're saving their strength for when we get closer to the gate, Tim points out. We turn onto a main street, heading downtown. The Las Vegas skyline glows ahead of us, casino lights and neon signs painting the clouds. From this distance, it looks normal, alive. You can't see the shimmer in the air, can't see the dimensional rift opening above Fremont Street. Then the first possessed person steps into the road. Middle-aged woman in a bathrobe standing in the center of our lane. I slam on the brakes, the Jeep skidding to a stop 30 feet from her. She doesn't move, just stands there, staring at us with those two black eyes. Drive around her, Walter says. I start to turn the wheel, but more people emerge from between houses. A dozen of them, then 2 dozen, forming a human wall across the street. All ages, all with the same blank expression. They're coordinated, Holt says. This isn't random possession. They're working together. Time to activate the jammer, I say. Bernard's device is in a backpack at Walter's feet. He pulls it out, flips the power switch. Nothing happens visually, but I can feel something change in the air. A pressure shift, like right before a thunderstorm. The possessed people in front of us hesitate. Their synchronized movements become jerky, uncertain. One of them turns the wrong direction. Another takes a step backward. The coordination is breaking down. Go, Walter says, while they're confused. I hit the accelerator. The jeep lurches forward. The possessed people scatter, but not fast enough. We clip someone's shoulder, a teenage kid who spins and falls. I check the rearview mirror. He's getting up, uninjured but disoriented. 90 minutes, Walter says, checking the jammer's battery indicator. That's all we have. We make it 6 more blocks before the second wave hits. A pickup truck rams us from the side. The impact throws Tim against the roll cage. I fight to keep control as the jeep slides sideways. The truck backs up for another ram. Behind it, more vehicles converge. 3 cars, another truck, all driven by possessed hosts. They're using vehicles as weapons, Holt says. I gun the engine, swerving around the pickup. We race down a side street, taking corners too fast, running red lights. The possessed vehicles follow. A sedan cuts us off at an intersection. I yank the wheel right, jumping the curb through someone's front yard. Lawn ornaments explode under our wheels. We crash back onto the street, suspension groaning. Fremont Street is 2 miles east, Holt says, voice tight. We're not going to make it with this pursuit. Yes, we are. I take another hard turn. Walter, how do we evacuate Fremont Street? Fire alarm won't work. Too many false alarms downtown. People ignore them. He thinks for a moment. Bomb threat. Call it into 911. Say there's a device under the Fremont Street Experience canopy. They'll clear everyone out. Won't they send bomb squads? Tim asks. They'll find the pulse device. Not if we place it after they finish the initial sweep. We wait until they evacuate, then slip in during the confusion. I hand my phone to Holt. Make the call. Anonymous tip. Sound panicked. He dials, puts on a convincing performance. Scared tourist who saw someone planting something suspicious. Gives detailed description of a backpack under one of the support pillars. Hangs up before they can trace the call. Done, he says. Police response time downtown is about 6 minutes. We're 4 blocks from Fremont Street now. The possessed vehicles have fallen back, losing us in the maze of side streets. Or maybe they're regrouping for something bigger. The shimmer is visible now, even from street level. A massive distortion in the air above downtown, like reality itself is tearing open. It pulses with rhythmic energy, each pulse growing stronger, more visible. The gate's expanding faster than Bernard predicted, Walter says, staring up at it. Maybe 3 hours until stabilization, not 8. So we have less time than we thought. We have enough time. Walter's voice is firm. We just need to get the device in place. Police sirens wail in the distance. Multiple units converging on Fremont Street from different directions. The evacuation is starting. I park the jeep 2 blocks away in the lot of a closed pawn shop. We gather the equipment, the pulse device, Walter's backup calculations, Holt's tablet with the exact epicenter coordinates. Tim insists on carrying a crowbar he found in the jeep. Says it makes him feel better to have a weapon, even though it's useless against entities that don't have physical form. Stay together, I say. Watch for possessed hosts. They can't coordinate well with the jammer active, but they're still dangerous. We move through darkened alleys, approaching Fremont Street from the north. The pedestrian mall is chaos, police herding confused tourists away from the area, bomb squads setting up a perimeter, news crews filming from safe distances. There, Holt points to a maintenance access point. Service entrance under the canopy structure. If we can get inside, we can reach the epicenter without being seen. The door is locked. Tim uses the crowbar, prying at the frame until something breaks and the door swings open. We slip inside before anyone notices. The maintenance tunnel under Fremont Street is tight, low-ceilinged, lit by emergency lighting. Cables and pipes run along the walls. Our footsteps echo on metal grating. Somewhere above us, I can hear muffled voices, police radios, evacuation announcements. Walter checks his readings on a handheld device Bernard gave him. 50 meters ahead, the epicenter is directly above us under the canopy's main support structure. We follow the tunnel until it ends at a ladder leading up. I climb first, pushing open a hatch that emerges in the middle of the pedestrian mall. The area is empty now, everyone evacuated. Just abandoned drinks and dropped shopping bags scattered across the pavement. The shimmer is massive from here, 40 feet across and growing, centered directly above us. I can see through it now, see shapes moving on the other side. Consciousness without bodies, pressing against the membrane between dimensions. We're at the epicenter, Walter confirms. Place the device here. I set down the pulse device, opening the access panel. Inside is Bernard's handiwork. Capacitors and electromagnetic coils, wired to explosive charges that will channel the energy pulse directly upward into the gate. Once we activate this, we have 60 seconds to clear the blast radius, I remind everyone. That's 100 meters minimum. Can everyone run that far in 60 seconds? Holt nods. Tim looks nervous but determined. Walter just smiles. I'm not running, he says quietly. What? Someone needs to stay and make sure it detonates. The trigger mechanism is old. It might fail. If it does, someone has to manually complete the circuit. He points to a red wire. Touch that to the positive terminal and the pulse discharges immediately. Then we'll stay together and... No, Walter's voice is gentle but absolute. I'm 87 years old. Lived my whole life preparing for this moment. Let me end it doing something that matters. You three get out. Warn people about what's coming if this doesn't work. Tell them the truth about 1961, about the pilots who sacrificed everything. Walter. Holt's voice breaks. Vincent, I'm proud of you. Proud you became a doctor. Proud you kept the files safe. Your mother would be proud too. He looks at me and Tim. All of you. You could have walked away. You chose to fight. Above us, the shimmer pulses. The gate is opening wider. I can hear something now, a sound like billions of voices whispering in unison, the entities waiting to cross over. We need to decide now, Walter says. In 20 minutes, this gate stabilizes and nothing can stop them. Not this device, not anything. I look at the others. Tim has tears on his face but says nothing. Holt is struggling to keep his composure, wanting to argue but knowing Walter is right. Okay, I finally say. We activate the device and run. You make sure it goes off. If we survive, we tell your story. Make sure people know what you did. Walter nods. That's all I ask. I flip the switch. The device begins its countdown, 60 seconds displayed on a digital timer, numbers descending. Go, Walter says. Run. We run. Down the tunnel, through the maintenance access, back into the dark alleys. My lungs burn, my legs scream. Behind us, the device charges up, a high-pitched whine building. We clear 100 meters, then 200. I glance back just once, breathing hard. Walter is still there, standing in the middle of Fremont Street, looking up at the gate with an expression of peace on his face. The pulse detonates. A wave of pure electromagnetic energy explodes outward, visible as a blue-white sphere of light. It hits the gate like a hammer, and I watch the shimmer collapse in on itself, reality snapping back into place with a sound like thunder. Then everything goes dark. Every light in downtown Las Vegas dies simultaneously. Cars stop running. Cell phones go black. We're plunged into complete darkness, lit only by moonlight and stars. In the distance, someone is screaming, multiple someones. The possessed hosts, suddenly released from entity control, confused and terrified, and not understanding where they are or what they've been doing for the past 24 hours. The gate is closed, but Walter is gone. The darkness is absolute. Every street light dead, every casino sign dark. Las Vegas is silent and black under the stars. We sit in an alley behind a souvenir shop, catching our breath. Tim cries quietly. Holt stares at nothing. I'm shaking, adrenaline draining, leaving exhaustion and grief. It worked, Tim finally says. The gate is closed. We did it. Walter did it, Holt corrects, his voice hollow. We just ran. I pull out my phone. Dead. The electromagnetic pulse fried everything electronic within the blast radius. No way to call for help. No way to contact Bernard. No way to know if the gate closing worked the way we hoped. Footsteps in the darkness, multiple people approaching. I tense, ready to run again, but then someone speaks. Hello? Is anyone there? What happened to the lights? I woman's voice. Confused, scared, human. More voices join hers. People emerging from buildings, from stalled cars. Tourists and locals asking the same questions. Where am I? How did I get here? The possessed hosts, Tim whispers. They're waking up. We move toward Fremont Street. In the moonlight, hundreds of people mill around in confusion. Some are crying, all of them disoriented, missing chunks of time. A man in a security guard uniform approaches us. Do you know what happened? There was some kind of explosion. All the power is out. My radio is dead. Electromagnetic pulse, Holt tells him. Probably knocked out electronics for miles. You should start organizing evacuation. Get people to walk toward areas with power. The strip should still have emergency generators running. The guard nods, grateful for direction, and starts shouting instructions to nearby people. We should get out of here before official responders show up, I say. They'll want to know what caused the pulse. We can't explain it without revealing everything. We make our way west, away from downtown, through streets filled with confused people and dead cars. Emergency vehicles arrive from outside the affected zone, sirens breaking the silence, but they're overwhelmed. It takes 2 hours to walk back to the Jeep. The vehicle is dead, but Tim hotwires it, bypassing the fried computer systems. We drive in silence toward Pahrump, toward Bernard's place. None of us knows what to say. We closed the gate, saved Las Vegas from mass possession. But the cost was Walter's life, and I'm not sure any of us feels like heroes. Bernard is waiting on his porch when we arrive. He knew. Somehow he knew. The gate collapsed, he says as we approach. I felt it through the monitoring equipment before everything went dead. Walter activated the device. Holt just nods, unable to speak. Bernard's face shows no surprise, only sadness. He told me 3 days ago that if it came to it, he'd be the one to stay. Made me promise not to stop him. Said he'd lived long enough with the guilt of what happened in 1961, and if he could end his life making it right, that was good enough for him. Did it work? I ask. Are the entities gone? Come inside. There's something you need to see. We follow him into the trailer. He's running equipment off portable generators now, monitors displaying data despite the pulse that knocked out everything electronic in Las Vegas. The gate closed permanently, Bernard confirms, pulling up readings. The dimensional bridge is severed. Nothing can cross from their reality to ours anymore. Then we won, Tim says. Did we? Bernard switches to a different screen. Look at this. These are quantum signatures of entities transferring between hosts. Before the pulse, thousands per hour. After the pulse. He points to the graph. 0. No transfers. But look at this. He overlays another dataset, thermal imaging of Las Vegas, showing heat signatures of human bodies. Thousands of them throughout the city. But some of them are marked in red. What am I looking at? Holt asks. Brain activity patterns that don't match baseline human. The entities that were inhabiting hosts when the gate closed, they're still there, trapped, with no way back and no ability to jump to new hosts. How many? 8,000 in Las Vegas, worldwide, maybe 500,000, all carrying entities that can't leave. So we didn't stop the invasion, I say quietly. We just locked the door after 500,000 invaders were already inside. You stopped billions more from coming through, Bernard corrects. You made a choice in an impossible situation. But yes, the entities already here are here permanently now. The question is, what happens next? Tim is pacing. Are they dangerous? Will they try to take over? I don't know. Without quantum entanglement to their home dimension, they're isolated. They might become individuals rather than a collective. We need to identify the infected, Holt says. And do what? Bernard's voice is sharp. Kill 8,000 victims? They didn't choose this. The room falls silent. He's right. There's no good solution. No way to separate entity from host without killing both. My phone is still in my pocket, dead and useless. But I remember the last conversation with the entity, its voice asking me to understand, explaining that they were refugees from a prison of pure thought, desperate for physical experience. What if being trapped here makes them more human, I say, forces them to live individual lives? That's optimistic, Tim says. But possible, Bernard adds. Without the collective, they might adopt human thought patterns. Look at the brain scans. The infected are showing decreased entity presence. They're integrating, becoming more human with every passing minute. I walk to the window looking out at the desert. Dawn is approaching, the sky lightening along the eastern horizon, painting everything in shades of pink and gold. Somewhere in Las Vegas, 8,000 people are waking up confused, missing time, not understanding what happened to them or why they feel different. And inside each of them, an alien consciousness is slowly forgetting what it means to be separate from its host, memories of the void fading like dreams upon waking. We should tell someone, Tim says. The government, military. They need to know what's really happening. And what will they do, Bernard asks. Dissect the infected individuals? Lock them up in facilities? Create a new Area 51 to study them like laboratory specimens? I spent 64 years watching the government cover up the truth about the first gate. They'll do the same thing now, classify everything, silence witnesses, pretend it never happened. That's what institutions do when faced with the impossible. So we do nothing, Holt sounds angry. My father died and we just walk away. We document it, I say. We write down everything that happened. The 1961 experiment, the 6 pilots, Walter's sacrifice, the truth about what's happening to those 8,000 people. We make sure the story survives even if we don't. And then what? Tim asks. Then we watch. We monitor the infected individuals, see if they become more human or more alien, and if they start showing signs of coordination, of collective behavior, we'll know the entities are regrouping. But if they continue integrating, if they truly become human over time, then maybe we didn't fail. Maybe we created a new kind of person. Someone who understands both consciousness without form and consciousness within flesh. Bernard nods slowly. I can monitor them, track the integration process. It'll give me something to do for however many years I have left. Holt is quiet for a long moment, processing everything we've learned. Then, my father spent his whole life fighting against this, against the entities, against the invasion, and in the end, his sacrifice didn't stop them completely. It just changed the nature of what they became. He died to trap them here. It stopped billions from coming through, I remind him firmly. It saved humanity from being overwhelmed by an unstoppable force. The 8,000 already here, they're manageable. They can be watched, studied, maybe even helped to integrate peacefully. But billions pouring through an open gate? That would have been extinction. Total loss of human autonomy. Would it? Holt looks at me. Or would it have been evolution? The entities said they wanted to merge, to create something new. Maybe that would have been better than what we have now. Maybe, I admit. But it wasn't our choice to make for the entire species. Walter made sure humanity keeps control of its own future. That has to count for something. The sun breaks over the horizon, flooding the desert with golden light that makes everything look clean and new. A new day. A new world. One where 8,000 people carry alien consciousness inside them and don't know it. Where the boundary between human and other has become permanently blurred. Where what we call human might mean something different now. I think about Donald Moss in the sleep lab weeks ago, sitting up with those black eyes, mouthing words through the glass. I think about the entity on the phone, explaining its fear of returning to the void, the desperation in its voice. I think about Walter standing in the middle of Fremont Street, looking up at the gate with peace on his face, choosing to end his story on his own terms. We didn't stop the invasion. We didn't save everyone. We just made the best choice we could with the information we had. Maybe that's all anyone can do when facing the impossible. I need to go home, Tim says quietly. Sleep for about a week. Try to process all of this. I need to write a report, Holt says, for the medical board. Explain what happened at the hospital. Why so many patients are missing time. I need to figure out if I'm still employed, I say, which gets a tired laugh from Tim. We leave Bernard in his trailer, surrounded by equipment monitoring the slow integration of 8,000 hybrid consciousness. He'll spend his remaining years watching, documenting, trying to understand what we've created. We drive back toward Las Vegas in the Jeep, past cars being towed and people walking along the highway looking confused and lost. The city is waking up. Emergency power is being restored section by section. News helicopters circle overhead, cameras recording everything. Within hours, the official story will emerge. Some kind of electromagnetic pulse, terrorist attack, technical malfunction, anything but the truth. And maybe that's for the best. Maybe humanity isn't ready to know that 8,000 people walking around Las Vegas right now aren't entirely human anymore. Maybe the truth would cause more harm than the lie, but I know, we know, and we'll be watching. Because the gate is closed, but the story isn't over. It's just beginning. 3 months later, I'm back at Desert Springs Medical Center. They reinstated me after the official investigation concluded the electromagnetic pulse was terrorism, perpetrators unknown. My testimony matched everyone else's: confusion, chaos, complete power failure across downtown. No one mentioned entities or dimensional gates or test pilots from 1961. The sleep lab is busy again, different patients cycling through every night, but I still recognize the patterns when I see them. Tonight, I'm monitoring Patricia Geller, 43, admitted for chronic nightmares that started in late August. Her intake form says she wakes up feeling like someone else lived her life while she was unconscious. Says she has memories that don't belong to her, memories of places she's never been. Her brain activity is normal, completely human. Whatever entity inhabited her during those 48 hours has integrated so completely that medical science can't distinguish it from her original consciousness anymore. Bernard sends weekly updates from his trailer in Pahrump. The integration is progressing faster than predicted. Within 6 months, the hybrid consciousness will be indistinguishable from natural human thought patterns. The entities are forgetting they were ever separate, becoming the people they once merely inhabited. Tim quit and went back to school. Studies neuroscience now, trying to understand what happened to us. I get texts from him sometimes late at night, asking if I think the entities are still aware inside their hosts. If somewhere deep in Patricia Geller's mind an alien consciousness is screaming to get out. Holt took over as lab director after the previous director retired under mysterious circumstances. Turns out his real name is Vincent Kingston. Walter's son changed his surname after 1961, couldn't handle the association with Project Dreamcatcher. Spent his entire career studying sleep patterns while secretly watching for the return of the entities his father tried to stop. Now Walter is gone, and Vincent is trying to figure out who he is without that mission. We meet for coffee sometimes. Neither of us talks about what happened. What's there to say? We saved humanity and created a new species, killed his father, and trapped 500,000 consciousness in human flesh. An impossible choice we're both still trying to justify. Patricia Geller's REM patterns spike suddenly. I watch her on the monitor, eyes moving rapidly beneath closed lids. I wonder what entities dream about when learning to be human. The monitor shows 3:47 a.m. For a moment, just a moment, Patricia's eyes open. She looks directly at the camera. Her pupils are normal, brown, human. But there's something in her expression, recognition, maybe, gratitude, or warning. She closes her eyes and returns to sleep. I make a note in her file. Normal REM patterns, no anomalies detected, patient stable. What I don't write is what I saw in that brief moment of eye contact. What I recognized because I've been looking for it every night since the gate closed. The entities aren't forgetting who they were, they're just learning to hide better. Integration doesn't mean extinction, it means evolution. And somewhere in Las Vegas, 8,000 people are walking around with two consciousness, sharing one mind, learning to cooperate, learning to coexist, becoming something neither fully human nor fully alien. The gate is closed. The invasion is over. But the transformation has only just begun. I finish my shift at dawn and drive home through streets filled with people who have no idea what's living among them, walking beside them. maybe that's for the best. Or maybe someday soon we'll all wake up different and won't even remember we used to be anything else.